Hello everyone, this is Scott Caruso from Java 2 1308 here with my week 3 reflection video. Before we look at the application and my code, let's talk a little bit about how this week went and some of the concepts from this week. Following the theme from weeks 1 and week 2, it was another very successful week for me. I don't know what happened, but I'm finding Java 2 to be way, way, way easier than Java 1 was. I still think it goes back to how I spent the last week of Java 1 really starting over from scratch to get to the point where I'm at now. But the concepts are really coming easily to me, and I didn't really have any problem implementing any of this week's features or functionality. In particular, I really liked working with the singleton pattern. It just makes too much sense not to use because there's so many utility classes and utility functions that we use in our applications. Why wouldn't you want to have single instances of those classes instead of instantiating them every time you need them? It makes way too much sense not to use them. Similarly, multiple activities run the project. Again, they make too much sense, and they improve usability both for the programmer and for the user. I mean, hitting the back button to be able to actually go back screens. Oh, what a concept! Not having to program your own back button, and just the fact that you're able to better organize your projects. I mean, it's win-win-win for everybody. Why wouldn't you utilize many different kinds of activities in your programs? I love the explicit intent. I'm finding passing data back and forth between views, between functions, way easier in Java than I did in Objective-C, and intents are part of that. They make it so much simpler to pass data back and forth. At least to me, I find it to be that way. And though I think I'm still a little confused on a lot of real good practical applications for the implicit intent. I think I've got it, the basics there, but I still think there's some more clarification that could be used, that could be given. All in all, everything this week, just all of it comes together to make a finely tuned Android application package come together. So really, all the things that we learned this week, I see really strong benefit for using all of them. To be honest with you. Okay, so now let's take a look at the application for this week. I've got my Wi-Fi turned off right now, so you can verify that still works when there's no network connection. You'll get the error that there's no connection to the internet available. Let's flip over and turn that on. So let's go and turn the Wi-Fi back on the device, and you'll see when we get back in to the application that the aesthetic hasn't changed too terribly much. That's probably the biggest difficulty that I've had, is just finding the time to be able to clean up the aesthetic a little bit. I'd love to be able to and make it look prettier. I just really haven't gotten to that point. Let's do some simple tests here. Oh, first, before we do this, actually, let me minimize that. There used to be a crash when you tried to search when there were no politicians saved. That crash no longer occurs. So do a quick search here. You will notice all the same functionality exists. However, a new implicit intent will launch the web page for whatever politician that you're looking at and return you back as you were. It handles orientation changes, and when you go back to the previous page, it tells you the last politician that you viewed. So the intent is passing data back and forth between the activities. Obviously, I could do a lot more with that information, but for now, just for proof of concept, I'm showing you that you can see the last politician that you viewed. So those are some of the big things that I changed this week. If you want to go take a look at the code real fast here, the main activity has been cleaned up very, very nicely as a result of the work that we did this week. There's way less. There's actually way less code that I've needed to use because I'm not regenerating or I'm not generating elements over and over again in the single activity. The two activities actually clean the code up pretty significantly. Some of the big changes come down here in my cursor display. I did some better error handling to avoid the crashes that we discussed before. The results activity that we mentioned before does all of the creation of the results page that you can see here. And finally, as you can see, I've got here what I'm calling the data singleton, where it's housing a number of different data-related functions. The one that writes a politician to local storage. I have the function that retrieves data from local storage, not being used at the moment, but maintaining it here because I could see a use for this in the future if I were not pulling down data with the URI. So there is some significant utility there. Also, functions for determining if a politician's already been saved, or if you need to append data to an existing string, or remove somebody from favorites. So all of these data manipulation related functions are now being held in a singleton rather than as separate files that need to be, or separate methods rather than need to be instantiated. So that's week 3. The application is really coming along nicely. Hope everyone else had a good week 3 as well, and I will talk to you again for week 4.